$5 and 4 for $5. Thank you for coming and enjoy the show.
First thought to be Robin Richards, but I'm not far behind.
Good evening, Fred.
Good evening, Miss Rogers.
About.
Yes.
Oh dear. Oh, Claddy. Have you remembered everything?
Yes, I think so. Lemonade, very slow, cream, potatoes and butter, that's all, wasn't it?
That's right. Oh dear, there's so much to do and I don't know where to start. There's no maid until the morning and all these guests are arriving today.
Oh, calm down, Ethel. The place looks ship-shape, don't it, Fred?
This place is quite bare, but rich folks like beer, it seems.
Rich folks is queer.
And of course, when the gentleman built this place, he spent a lot of money on it and then puts it up for sale.
I don't understand why you would want to buy it. Living on an island.
Oh, come off it, Ethel, and head back to the kitchen. The guests will be here any minute now.
That being young Jim, I'll be getting home.
You know, making that steep climb excuse for a drink like some others I know.
Oh, Fred, don't forget the oil for the engine. I'll be
Right.
having to run the lights down.
Right.
And help them with their luggage, will you?
Okay.
I forgot to give you the list of guests, Tom.
Thanks, old girl.
Doesn't look like a very classy lot to me.
Miss Clayton, she's going. She's probably the secretary.
I don't hold much for secretaries. Worse than hospital nurses, giving themselves all airs and graces and looking down upon the servants.
Oh, stop your grousing, Ethel, and head back to that lovely up-to-date kitchen of yours.
Too many new fangled gadgets for my fancy.
I wonder what the others are. Should hope Mrs. Rogers will be getting you both tomorrow.
So this is it.
How perfectly lovely.
Miss Claythorne.
You're Rogers.
Yes, miss. Good evening.
Good evening, Rogers. Will you bring up my luggage and Captain Lombard?
Yes, ma'am.
You've been here before.
No, not personally, but I've heard a lot about the place.
From Mr. and Mrs. Owen.
No, an old friend of mine, Jonathan Brewer, he built this place. It's a sad and poignant story, really.
A love story.
Yes, ma'am, the saddest of all. He was always a wealthy man, but he married the famous Lily Logan. He married her, bought her the island, and then built this place for her.
Sounds most romantic.
No, but poor Johnny, he thought by cutting her off from the rest of the world, without even a telephone as means of communication, he could hold her.
But of course, the fair Lily, tired of ivory tower, escaped.
Uh-huh. So Johnny went back to Wall Street. He made a few more millions, and the place was sold.
Here we are.
Here we are.
Well, I better find Mrs. Owen. The others will be up in a minute.
It would be very rude of you to leave me here all by myself.
Would it? Well, I wonder where she is.
She'll come along when she's ready. While we're waiting, though, do you think I could have a drink? I'm very drunk.
Of course you could.
What's yours?
No, thank you. Not me. Not on duty.
A good secretary never is off duty.
Really? This is exciting.
What is?
All of this. The smell of the sea, gulls, beach, this lovely house. I'm going to enjoy myself.
I think you are. I think we both are. Here's to you. You are very lovely.
Where is Mrs. Owen?
Mrs. Owen will be arriving tomorrow, miss. I'm sorry, I thought you knew.
Tomorrow.
I have the list of guests expected right here if you'd like to see it.
Thank you. Say, how awful. You will be sweet and healthy, won't you?
I won't move from your side.
Huh. It seems silly to have brought only us in the first boat and all the rest in the second.
That, I'm afraid, was design, not accident.
Design, what do you mean?
I merely suggested to the boatman that there was no need to wait for any more passengers. That and 5 shillings soon started up the engine.
Oh, you should not have done that.
Well, they weren't a very exciting lot, were they?
But the young man was rather nice looking.
Callow. Definitely callow. And very, very young.
Suppose you think a man in his 30s is more attractive.
I don't think, my darling. I know.
Where's the place you have here?
Hello, I'm Mrs. Owen's secretary. Mrs. Owen has been detained in London with Greg Mulkey down until tomorrow.
Too bad.
May
May I introduce Captain Lombard, Mr.
Marston, Anthony Marston.
Lombard, how do you do? Have a drink?
Thank you.
What would you like? Gin, whiskey, sherry?
Risky, I think.
Wonderful place you have here.
I'm Mrs. Owen's secretary. Mrs. Owen has been detained in London. I'm afraid it won't be down until tomorrow.
Say when.
Risen.
How are you?
How do you do? Lombard's the name. Mr.
Davis. Davis is the name.
Mr. Davis? Mr. Marston?
Mr. Marston, pleased to meet you. Please, Captain Lombard, I don't mind if I do. It's a bit of a stiff climb up here, but whew, what a view and what a height. Reminds me of South Africa, this place.
Really? What part?
Oh, Natal, Durban, you know.
You think so?
It's the finest country in the world, sir. Gold, silver, diamonds, oranges, anything a man could want. Talk about a land flowing with beer and skittles.
Interesting country, I should think.
How do you do?
General Mackenzie, isn't it? I'm Mrs. Owen's secretary. Mrs. Owen has been detained in London. I'm afraid it won't be done until tomorrow. May I introduce Captain Lombard, Mr. Marston, and Mr.
Davis. Davis is the name.
Would you like a drink?
Thank you. You're in the service?
Formerly, in the King's African Rifles. Too tame for me in peacetime, though I chucked it.
How pretty. When?
Where is Miss Owen?
Oh, Miss Brent, isn't it? I'm Mrs. Owen's secretary. Mrs. Owen has been detained in London. I'm afraid
It won't be done until...
tomorrow.
Indeed. Extraordinary. Did she miss the train?
I expect so. Won't you have something? May I introduce General Mackenzie, Captain Lombard, Mr. Marston, I believe you all met on the boat, and Mr.
Davis. Davis is the name. May I take your case?
Do let me give you a drink. What would you like? A glass of sherry? A dry martini? Whiskey and soda?
I never touch alcohol.
You never touch alcohol?
I suppose you know, young man, that you left us standing there on the wharf.
I'm afraid Miss Brent, I was to blame for
I
that.
find it most extraordinary that Miss Owen should not be here to receive her guests.
But perhaps she's just the kind of person that can help missing trains.
That's what I reckon she is.
Not at all. Miss Owen isn't the least like that.
Perhaps it was her husband's fault.
She hasn't got a husband. I should like to go to my room.
Of course, I'll take you.
Mrs. Rogers is down the hall. She shall show you to your room, miss.
It seems our host and hostess haven't yet arrived. My name's Lombard, Mr.
Mine's Wargrave. How are you?
How do you do? Would you like a drink?
Yes, please, a whiskey.
How are you, sir? Davis. Davis is the name. Wonderful place you have here. Quite unique.
As you say, quite unique.
Well, Badger Berkeley rolled up yet?
Who did you say?
Badger Berkeley. He's the one who wrote me in for the show. When's he coming?
I don't think he is. Nobody of the name of Berkeley?
Dirty old double crosser. Slow me down. Well, it's pretty Wizard Island. Rather Wizard that secretary. She outlined things up a bit. I say, old man, how about dressing down for dinner if there's time?
Let's go and explore.
Come, Wizard.
Things are a bit at 6s and 7s without the Owens turning up.
Tricky, what? Pretty Wizard place for a holiday, what?
Aren't you going to sit down?
Well, to tell you the truth, you seem to be in my chair.
Sorry, I didn't realize you were one of the family.
Oh, no, it's not quite it. To tell you the truth, I've never been here before. You see, I live at the Benton Club. I have for the past 10 years. My seat is just about there. Can't get used to sitting anywhere else.
It becomes a bit of a habit.
Yes, it certainly does. Thank you. It's not as good as the clubs, but still, it's a nice chair. To tell you the truth, I was a bit surprised when I got this invitation. I haven't had anything of the kind for well over 4 years. Very nice of them, I thought.
Can I have your keys, sir?
Is Lady Constance Covington expected here? Can you tell me?
Lady Constance Covington was not on the list, unless she's coming down with Mr. and Mrs. Owen tomorrow.
Oh.
Can I have your keys, sir?
No, I'll unpack for myself, thank you.
Dinner's at 8 o'clock. Shall I show you to your room?
Oh, please.
Oh, how are you? Davis. Davis is the name. Mine's Armstrong. Dr. Armstrong, I believe.
Don't tell me I've got you one of my patients.
Oh, no, nothing like that. I once saw you in court giving expert evidence.
Oh, really? Are you interested in law?
Well, you see, I'm from South Africa, so naturally, legal processes in this country are bound to interest the colonials.
Oh, yes, of course.
It's a wonderful place we have here.
Wonderful. Oh, that's why I was coming across the mainland. The haven of peace this was.
Too peaceful for some, I dare say.
Wonderfully restful. Wonderful for the nerves. I'm a nerve duster, you know.
Yes, I know that. Did you take the train?
No, I noted it down. Dropped off an application on the way. Great improvement. Wonderful thoughts.
That's part of 200 miles, isn't it? How long did it take you?
I didn't hurry. I never hurry. Bad for the nerves. Some man in a Singularly drove us a ditch in Amsbury. Shot past me at about 80 miles an hour. Disgraceful to driving. I'd like to have had his number.
Yes, and if only more people would take the numbers of these young road hogs.
Yes, you must excuse me. What's that word, Mr. Owen?
Oh, but Mr. Owen isn't coming down.
Excuse me, sir. You want something for me?
Yes, Rogers. What time is supper?
Supper is at 8 o'clock. In a quarter of an hour. Tonight dressing is optional.
Right. Have you been here long, Rogers?
Just under a week, sir.
Is that all?
Yes.
So, I suppose you don't know much about the crowd that's here.
I really couldn't say, sir.
Are they all old friends of the family?
I really couldn't say, sir.
Oh, well. Oh, Rogers?
Yes, sir?
Would you mind putting some sandwiches and a bottle of beer in my room at night? I get a hell of an appetite with this sea air.
I'll see what I can do, sir.
Rogers, I'll see you won't lose by it. Now, where's my room?
I'll show you, sir.
Thank you. I can do with a wash and a brush up straight away.
Oh, there you are, Rogers. You should be cleaning these dirty glasses. You're always leaving the dirty work to me. Here I am with a full-course dinner on my hands and no one to help me. You ought to help with the dishing up. Who was that you were talking to, by the way?
Davis, a South African gentleman. No class if you ask me. No money either.
Well, I don't like him. I don't like any of them. Much like that bunch we have in the boarding house, I'd say.
He gives out the airs like he's a millionaire or something. See his underwear, cheap as they make them.
Well, as I said, it ain't treating us right. All these guests are arriving today, and there's no maid until the morning. What do they think we are?
Calm down, Ethel. The money's good.
And so it ought to be. Catch me going into service again if the money wasn't good.
Well, the money is good. So what are you going to do about it?
Well, I can tell you this, Rogers. I'm not staying any place that I'm put upon. Cooking's my business. I'm a good cook.
You're first-rate, old girl.
But the kitchen's my business and the housework's none of it. I've got a good mind to put my hat and coat on and go straight back to Plymouth.
You can't do that, old girl.
Oh? And who says I can? I should like to know.
Because you're on island, had you forgot?
Well, I don't think I fancy being on an island.
I don't know if I fancy being on an island either. No slipping down to the pub, no going to the pictures. Oh well, double wages on account of difficulties, and there's plenty of beer in the house.
That is all you ever think about is beer!
Stop your nagging and head back to the kitchen before your dinner spoils.
It'll be spoiled anyways, I suppose. They're all gonna be late. Wasted on them. Thank goodness I didn't make a souffle. Oh, hello, dear. Dinner will be ready in a little bit. It's all just a matter of dishing up.
Is everything all right, Rogers? Can you manage between the two of you?
Yes, ma'am. The missus talks a lot, but she gets it done.
What a lovely evening.
Yes, indeed. The weather seems quite settled.
How plainly one can hear the sea.
A pleasant sound.
Hardly a breath of wind. Deliciously warm. Nothing like England at all.
I should have thought you might feel a little uncomfortable in that dress.
No,
It's rather tight, isn't it?
I don't think so.
You'll excuse me, my dear, but you're a young girl and you've got your living to earn.
Yes.
Well-bred women don't like their secretaries to appear flashy. It seems, you know, as though you're trying to attract the attention of the opposite sex.
Would you say I do attract them?
Well, that's besides the point. A girl who deliberately sets out to grab the attention of men isn't likely to keep her job long.
Well, surely that depends on who she's working for.
Really, Miss Claythorne?
Aren't you being a little unkind?
Young people nowadays behave in the most disgusting fashion.
Disgusting.
Yes, low-backed evening dresses, lying half naked on beaches, all this so-called sunbathing. An excuse for immodest conduct, nothing more. Familiarity, Christian names, drinking cocktails. And look at the young men nowadays. Look at that young Marston. What good is he? And that Captain Lombard.
What do you object to in Captain Lombard? I should say he's a man who's led a very varied and interesting life.
The man's an adventurer. This younger generation's no good at all.
So, you don't like youth, I see.
What do you mean?
Nothing. I was just remarking that you don't like young people.
Is there any reason why I should, pray?
No. But it seems to me you must miss an awful lot.
You're very impertinent.
I'm sorry. It's just what I think.
The world will never improve until we stump out modesty.
Quite pathologically.
What did you say?
Nothing.
What about the old boy?
He looks rather like a tortoise, don't you think so?
All judges look like tortoises. They have that venomous way of darting their heads in and out. Our friend Justice Wargrave is no exception.
I hadn't realized he was judge.
Oh yes, he's probably been responsible for sending more innocent people to their death than anyone else in England. Hello. Have you two met? Miss Armstrong, Miss Claythorne? We were just discussing about how our friend Justice Wargrave...
Yes, I heard him, and so did he, I think.
Oh, Sir Lawrence.
Miss Brent, isn't it?
Yes, I have a question I'd like to ask you. Would you come with me?
What a remarkably fine night.
Indeed.
Absolutely wizard car. A supercharged sports Voletta Calata. You don't see many of them on the road.
Did you come down from London?
Yes, 208 miles. I did it in a bit over 4 hours. Too many cars on the road, though, to keep it up. Touch 90, Graham sounds very plain. Not too bad, eh?
I think you passed me on the road.
Do I know you?
You nearly drove into the ditch.
Did I?
If I'd seen you in a road, I reported you.
But I recall you were footing along in the middle of the road.
Footling? Me? Footling?
Oh, well, what about a drink?
Good idea. Will you have one, Miss Claythorne?
No, thank you.
Good evening, Mrs. Owen.
Why, Mrs. Owen?
Isn't it obvious? You would make the most attractive wife for any wealthy businessman.
Do you always flirt so outrageously?
Always.
Well, now we know.
But seriously, tell me, what's Miss Brent talking to the justice about? She tried to buttonhole him upstairs.
I don't know. Funny. She seemed so definite that there wasn't a Mr. Owen.
I know, as if they weren't...
What? Married, you mean?
Well,
Damn shame we don't know each other. I could have given you a lift down.
Yes, that would have been grand.
Like to show you what I can do across Salisbury Plain. Tell you what, maybe we drive back together.
Oh, but
But it seems damn silly. I've got an empty car.
yes, but she likes the way she's going back. And she
Oh,
doesn't...
Aren't they sweet? Just 10 little tiny soldiers. And an old nursery rhyme.
What soldiers? What rhyme?
10 little soldier boys went out to dine. One choked his little self, and then there were 9. 9 little soldier boys sat up very late. One overslept himself, and then there were 8.
Ladies and gentlemen, silence please. You are charged with these indictments that you did respectively and at diverse times commit the following. Roberta Armstrong, that you did cause the death of Louisa Mary Cleese. William Henry Blore, that you brought about the death of James Stephen Lendor. Emily Caroline Brent, that you were responsible for the death of Beatrice Taylor. Vera Elizabeth Claythorne, that you killed Peter Ogilvy Hamilton. Philip Lombard, that you were guilty of the deaths of 21 men, members of an East African tribe. John Gordon Mackenzie, that you sent your wife's lover, Arthur Richmond, to his death. Anthony James Marston, that you are guilty of the murder of John and Lucy Combs. Thomas Rogers and Ethel Rogers, that you brought about the death of Jennifer Brady. Lawrence John Wargrave, that you are guilty of the murder of Edward Seaton. Prisoners at the bar, have you anything to say in your defense?
Nothing much. She's fainted, that's all. She'll be around in a minute. Get some brandy.
Rogers, get some brandy. Who was that speaking? It sounded like...
What's going on here? What kind of practical joke was
Where the
that?
devil did the voice come from?
You are charged with these indictments that you did respectively and at diverse times commit the following. Roberta Armstrong.
It's disgraceful and heartless practical joke.
So you think it's a joke now, do you?
What else could it be?
At the moment, I'm not prepared to give an opinion.
Then we'll turn it on instead of going.
We must inquire into that.
Oh, damn me. Oh, damn me.
Allow me, doctor. Allow me, sir. Ethel, are you all right? Are you stuck together? You hear me?
Did I fight, Mom?
Yes.
It was that voice. That awful voice like a judgment.
Where's the brandy? Thank you. Drink this, Miss Rogers.
I'm all right now. It gave me a nasty time.
Gave me a turn too. Wicked lies. I'd like to know who would make me.
Who was it that put the record on the gramophone? Was it you, Rogers?
Yes, sir. I was just following orders.
Whose orders?
Mr. Owens?
Let me get this quite clear. Mr. Owen's orders were what exactly?
I was to put the record on the gramophone for you all in the study. I thought it was a piece of music as all. It had a name on it.
Is there a title?
Yes, sir. It's entitled Swan Song.
Preposterous. The whole thing is preposterous. Slinging accusations about like this. Something must be done. This fellow Owen, wherever he is.
That's just it. Who is he?
That's exactly what we must go into very carefully. Now then, Rogers, I suggest you get your wife to bed and come right back here.
Yes, sir.
I'll give you a hand.
Will she be all right, Doctor?
Yes, quite all right.
I don't know about you, sir, but I feel I need another drink.
I agree.
I'll get them.
Preposterous, that's what it is.
Whiskey for you, Sir Lawrence.
I should like a glass of water.
I'll get it for you. I'll have a little whiskey myself.
She'll be all right now. No sedative.
Now then, Doctor. You want a drink after all of this, right?
No thanks. I never touch it.
Oh, right. You have this one, General.
Now then, Rogers, we must get to the bottom of this. Tell me what you know about Mr. Owen.
He owns the place, sir.
I'm quite aware of that fact, but what I want you to tell me is what you yourself know about the man.
I really couldn't say, sir. I've never met him.
What do you mean you've never met him?
Me and my wife were both engaged through a letter from the registry office. The Regina in Plymouth.
That's a high-class firm. We can check on that.
Have you got the letter?
The letter engaged? Yes, sir.
Go on with your story.
We arrived at Players on the 4th. Everything was ordered. Plenty of food in stock. The place just needed dusting and that.
What next?
Nothing, sir. We got the orders prepared the house for now for a party of 8. Then yesterday by the morning post I received a letter saying Mr. and Mrs. Owen might be detained. If so, do the best we could to detain you all. And then gave instructions about putting in the gramophone record.
Have you got that letter?
Yes, sir. Right here.
Headed Ritz Hotel, typewritten.
It's coronation machine number 5, and signed paper, quite new, no defects. We shan't get much out of this. We might try for fingerprints, but it's been handled too much.
Quite the little detective.
Got some pretty fancy Christian names, hasn't he? You like Norman Owen. Quite a mouthful.
I'm obliged to you, Mr. Marston. You have drawn my point to a very curious and suggestive point. I think the time has come for us all to pool our information together regarding our unknown host. We're all his guests, and I think it might be profitable if we came about to how that exactly came about.
There's something very peculiar about all of this. I had received a letter with a signature that was not very easy to read. It purported to be from a woman who I met at a certain summer resort 2 or 3 years ago. I took the name to be odd, quite certain that I have never met or become friendly with anyone by the name of Alan.
Have you got the letter?
Yes, I'll fetch it for you.
Miss Claythorne.
I never actually met Mrs. Owen. I wanted a holiday post, so I applied to a secretarial agency of Miss Grenfell's in London. I was offered this post and accepted.
And you were never interviewed by a prospective employer?
No. Here's the letter.
Soldier Island, Sticklehaven, Devon. I have received your name from Miss Grenfell's agency and understand she knows you personally. I shall be glad to pay you the salary you ask and shall expect you to take up your duties on August 8th. Train is the 12:10 from Paddington and you'll be met at Oak Ridge Station. I have enclosed £5 for your expenses. Yours truly, Una Nancy Owen. Mr. Marston.
Don't actually know the Owens. Got a wire from a pal of mine. Badge of Berkeley. Told me to roll up here. Surprised me a bit because I thought the old horse had gone to Norway. I haven't kept the wire.
Thank you. Dr. Armstrong.
In the circumstances, I think I may admit my visit here is professional. Mr. Owen wrote me on the matter of his wife's health, her nurse to be precise. He wanted a report without her being alarmed, so he therefore suggested that my visit here should be regarded as that of any ordinary guest.
You had no previous acquaintance with the family,
No.
but you had no hesitation in obeying the summons.
A colleague of mine was mentioned, and a very handsome fee was suggested. I was due for a holiday anyways.
Here you go. Thank you. Dear Miss Brent, I do hope you remember me. We were together at Belhaven Guest House in August some years ago, and we seem to have so much in common. I'm starting a guest house of my own on an island off the coast of Devon. I think there really is an opening for a place where there's a good plain English cooking, and a nice old-fashioned type of person. None of this nudity and gramophones half the night. I shall be very glad if you could see your way to spending your summer holiday on Soldier Island. As my guest, of course, I suggest August 8th, Philip 40 from Paddington to Oak Ridge. Most sincerely, UN. The signature is slightly ambiguous.
Personally, I like the nudity touch.
Here's my own decoy letter from an old friend of mine, Lady Constance Cummington. She writes in her usual vague, incoherent way, and urges me to join her here, and refers to her host and hostess in the vaguest of terms.
Look here, I've thought of something.
In a minute.
No, but...
We will take one thing at a time, Captain Lombard, if you do not mind. General Mackenzie.
Oh, well, I got a letter from this fellow Owen. I thought I might have met him sometime at the club. Mentioned some old cronies of mine who were ought to be here. Hoped I'd excuse informal invitation. I haven't kept the letter, I'm afraid.
Thank you. And you, Captain Lombard.
Same sort of thing, a letter mentioning mutual friends, and I haven't kept the letter either.
Just now, we had a somewhat disturbing experience. A somewhat disembodied voice spoke to us all by name, uttering certain definite accusations. We'll deal with those accusations presently. But at the point, I'm interested in a minor factor. Amongst the names received was that of one William Henry Bloor. But as far as we know, no man here is named Bloor amongst us. The name of Davis was not mentioned there. What do you have to say about that, Mr. Davis?
Cat's out of the bag, it seems. Suppose I should say my name isn't Davis.
You are William Henry Bloor, then?
That's right.
And I will add something to that. Not only are you here under a false name, but I've noticed this evening that you're a first-class liar. You claim to have come from Natal, South Africa, but I know Natal and South Africa very well. and I'm prepared to say you've never set foot there in your life.
You gentlemen have got me all wrong. I'm an ex-CID man.
Oh, a copper.
I've got my credentials and I can prove it. I run a detective agency in Plymouth.
And
I was put on for this job.
By whom?
Why, Mr. Owen. He sent a very nice money order for expenses and said I was to join you guys, posing as a guest. He also gave me a list of all of your names and said I was to keep an eye on you all.
Any reason given?
He said Mrs. Owen had some valuable jewels or something. Mrs. Owen might, but I don't believe a word he says.
Your conclusions are, I think, justified. You let Norman Owen, Una Nancy Owen. Each time letters are saying, you and Owen, or by a slight stretch of fancy, unknown.
But it's fantastic. Now,
Oh yes, I've no doubt in my own mind that we've been invited here by a madman. Probably a dangerous homicidal lunatic.
Oh my God!
Whoever it is who has enticed us here has taken a great trouble to find out great troubles about us. A rather great trouble indeed. And out of his knowledge concerning us, he has made certain deviant accusations.
it's all very well to make accusations. Iniquitous, wicked.
I wish to say this before you all. Our unknown friend accuses me of the murder of one Edward Seaton. I remember Seaton perfectly well. He came up before me in trial in June 1930 for the murder of an elderly woman. He was very ably defended and made a good impression on the jury in the witness box. Nevertheless, on the evidence, he was certainly guilty. I summed up accordingly, and the jury brought it in the verdict of guilty. An appeal was made on the grounds of misdirection, and the appeal was dismissed, and the man was duly executed. I wish to say this before you all, that my conscience is perfectly clear on the matter. I did my duty, nothing more. I passed sentence on a rightly convicted murderer.
Did you know Seaton at all? I mean, personally.
I knew nothing of Seaton previously to the trial.
He's lying. I'll swear the old boy is lying.
This fellow's a madman, absolute madman. He's got a bee in his bonnets. Got a wrong hold of the stick all around. Best to leave this sort of thing unanswered. However, I feel I ought to say there's no truth whatever in what he said about Arthur Richmond. Richmond was one of my officers. I sent him on reconnaissance in 1917. He was killed. Also, I'd like to say, very much slur on my wife. She's been dead a long time. Best woman in the world. Absolutely. Caesar's wife.
Ah, I've just been thinking. John and Lucy Combs? Must have been those kids I ran over near Cambridge. You see bad luck.
For them or for you?
Well, for me. But of course, you're right, sir. It was damn bad luck for them, too. Of course, it was pure accident. They ran out of some cottage or other. I had my license suspended for a year. Beastly nuisance.
This meeting's all wrong. All wrong. Young men like you are a danger to the community.
I couldn't help it. It was just an accident.
There was some mention of me and my wife, sir. And Miss Jennifer Brady? Not a word of it is true. We were under Miss Brady's care when she died. She was always in poor health from the time we met her. And there was a storm, you see. The telephone was out and there was no way to get a doctor to her. So I went for him, sir, on foot. But we got there too late. By the time we got there, she had already passed.
Came into a nice little something after her death, didn't you?
Miss Brady left us a legacy in recognition of our faithful service, and why not I'd like to
What
know.
about yourself, Mr. Bloor?
Oh, lender, you mean. That was the London and Commercial Bank robbery.
I remember the name of Lender, though it did not come before me. He was convicted on your evidence. With the police officer in charge of the case.
It was, my lord.
Lender got penal servitude for life and died in Dartmoor a year later. He was a delicate man.
He was a crook. It was him who put the night watchman out. The case was very clear from the start.
You were complimented, I think, on your able handling of the case.
I got my promotion. I was only doing my duty.
Convenient word, duty. What about yourself, Doctor?
A
understand the matter. The name meant nothing to me. What was it? Close? Close? Things a complete mystery to me, of course. It's a long time ago. It might possibly be one of my late operation cases in hospital. They come too late. So many of these people. And when a patient dies, it's always the surgeon's fault.
And then it's better to give up surgery and take on nerve cases. Some, of course, would give up drink.
I protest in your truth signatures such things. I never touch alcohol.
My dear lady, I never did. Anyway, Mr. Unknown Owen is the only one with all the facts.
Miss Claythorne.
I was nursery governess to Peter Hamilton. We were in Cornwall for the summer. She was forbidden from swimming too far out. One day, my attention was distracted. She started out. As soon as I saw what had happened, I went after him. I couldn't get to him in time.
Was there an inquest?
Yes, I was exonerated by the coroner. His mother didn't blame me either.
Thank you. Miss Brent.
I have nothing to say.
Nothing.
Nothing.
You reserve your defense.
It's not a question of defense. I've always acted according to the dictates of my conscience. Excuse me.
What a law-abiding lot we seem to be. Myself excluded, of course.
You're waiting for your story, Captain Lombard.
I haven't got the story.
What do you mean?
I'm sorry to disappoint all of you, but it's perfectly true, and I pled guilty. I left those natives alone to die in the bush. It was a matter of self-preservation.
You abandoned your men.
Not quite the act of a proper gentleman, I know, but self-preservation as a man's first duty. And besides, natives don't really feel the same way about dying as Europeans do.
Our inquiry rests there. Now, Rogers, who else on the island besides ourselves and you and your wife?
Nobody, sir.
Are you sure of that?
Quite sure, sir.
Thank you. Don't go, Rogers. I'm not yet clear as to the purpose of our unknown host in getting us to assemble here. But in my opinion, he's not sane in the accepted sense of the word. He may be dangerous, and in fact, I suggest we leave here as soon as possible, if not by tonight.
That's not possible, sir. There's no boat on the island.
No boat at all?
No, sir.
Then why don't you telephone to the mainland?
There's no telephone either. You see, friend Ericott comes every morning, delivers the bread, the groceries, and takes the orders for the morning.
Have to ferry out this mystery before we go. The whole thing is like a detective story. Positively thrilling.
At my time of life, I have no such desire for thrills.
The legal life's narrowing. I'm all for crime. Here's to it.
Dead? What you mean dead? The fellow just choked up and died?
Man doesn't die of a choking fit. He died of asphyxiation, right enough.
Never knew a man could die that way, just a choking fit.
In the middle of life, we are in death.
Man doesn't die of a choking fit, General Mackenzie. Mr. Mawson's death isn't what we call a natural death.
Was it something in the whiskey?
Yes, by the smell of its cyanide, probably potassium cyanide, acting well instantaneously.
Then he must have put the stuff in the glass himself.
Suicide, huh? That's a rum go.
Wouldn't think that he'd commit suicide. He was so alive. He was enjoying himself.
Oh, look. It's one of the little soldiers off the mantelpiece.